here's a question. What's the cost of your humanity? Or better yet, what do you consider to be humane? Like, what would you do if you knew that you wouldn't get caught? Or if nobody would even notice that you did it at all? I guess what I'm asking is, would you shoot an already dying man for the equivalent of $200,000? Well, my friends, that is precisely the dilemma that we find ourselves in today's episode as we flash back to 1985 Los Angeles, California, and follow the noir-esque misadventures of Irwin Fletcher, or as you and I call him, Fletch.
What's your name?
Fletch.
My name is Igor Stravinsky.
It's Dr. Rosenthal.
Ah, is that Morris or Pierre?
Mr. Nugent. Ted Nugent.
B-A-B-A-R.
John Cocktoast.
I'm Don Corleone.
Name's Liddy. Gordon Liddy.
This is Kavanaugh's cousin.
Harry S. Truman from Casewell Insurance Underwriters.
What kind of a name is Boone?
Fletch!
Full name? Fletch F. Fletch.
Don't say my name. Shut up.
1985's Fletch was directed by Michael Ritchie and written by Andrew Bergman. The film is an adaptation of the popular novels written by Gregory McDonald and brings a more comedic and dry approach to its titular character, Fletch, played here by Chevy Chase. Fletch is an investigative journalist working the undercover beat as a homeless beach junkie as he tries to uncover the truth behind a kingpin-level drug ring that's looming over greater Los Angeles. While undercover, Fletch is propositioned by a rich man called Alan Stanwick, who claims to be dying of bone cancer.
I don't know if you know anything about bone cancer, Mr. Nugent. It's the worst kind you can get.
He asks Fletch to kill the man in his upper-class home so that his family can reap the benefits of the life insurance. And in exchange, Fletch will receive $50,000 cash and a ticket out of the country.
And a movie and free drinks.
Now, that's just the opening scene of the movie. The rest of this story is gonna follow Fletch as he attempts to bust a drug ring and uncover the truth behind this mysterious death request. Along the way, we're gonna uncover a mystery that'll keep you guessing, predicting, speculating, and, above all, laughing.
Oh, come on, guys. It's so simple. Maybe you need a refresher course. Hey!
Fletch, in his niche for disguises, will take us behind the curtains of Alan's proposal and personal life, and the deeply tangled web of deception that he's spinning throughout the city of LA, and the not-so-glamorous scenic community of Provo, Utah. Shout out Provo, Utah. It's a movie that has aged tremendously well, with its comedy hitting somewhere between Chevy's dry and sarcastic comedic sensibilities and a situational coolness. It's really a guaranteed way to piss yourself laughing in front of your friends. I will never get invited to the Mackenzies for movie night again. But in either case, today we are going to be taking a break from the bore of today and flash back to a time when Chevy Chase was a bankable leading man, and with a script that studios today would never fund for theaters. At least, not well. So, dig up your dirtiest Magic Johnson jersey and grab your skates and let's rewind to 1985. I'm Kier with JoBlo Originals, and you're watching Flashback Features. So, I made a joke that studios today would never give a film like this a theatrical run, but I'm really only half serious. And actually, studios in Hollywood didn't want to give this movie a green light at all between the years of 1974 and 1981, when the books were optioned for film by Jonathan Burrows. The movie was rejected by the likes of New Line Cinema, Columbia Pictures, United Artists, Warner Brothers, 20th Century, and many others during this time. Even Universal turned it down initially, but later would go on to finance and distribute the film.
Does this proposition entail my dressing up as Little Bo Peep?
Now, for those who aren't familiar with Fletch in the books, it's much easier to imagine Chevy Chase as the character than to imagine the character as Chevy Chase, if that makes any sense. The casting wasn't necessarily an obvious choice for the filmmakers in the initial stages of development, as Fletch, from at least the bits that I've read, is indeed closer to something more like Jon Hamm's take. We're gonna talk more about casting later on, but aside from the character changes, the movie is a bit skewed from its source material in many ways, which very much upset Gregory McDonald upon reading the script.
Give me something I can print.
Print this.
According to the author, he visited the set of the movie and spent time with Ritchie to hear his ideas on the changes that he made. It's been stated by McDonald that after meeting with Ritchie, he saw the film's differences to be the right approach and admitted that he was wrong. So, what I'm getting from this is that Fletch is so damn good that the creator of the character likes the movie more than the book?
Well, there you have it.
Now, maybe that's because this movie is 98 minutes versus the 3 or 4 days that it might take you to finish the book, or maybe it's just that Chase's performance is so dialed in, or maybe it's strictly because the book could never make the Mr. Poon scene as funny as it plays out in live action.
I'm sorry, who are you again?
I'm Frida's boss.
Who's Frida?
My secretary.
Truthfully, it could be any of those things, but one thing that this movie has that the book could never is the iconic and ever catchy soundtrack and musical score. The music in this movie is a huge, and I do mean huge, asset to the film. The tone of the movie, the vibe of the character, the nature of investigative journalism, it's all represented in the synth-heavy music that makes you feel like sleuthing through town and just driving around people watching. Shout out to Harold Flattermeyer for providing the ultimate theme song of my childhood. So, after Fletch gets his strange offer from Alan, we get further into the film and learn more about our leading man. Fletch is living pretty low and currently dodging his wife's lawyer for alimony payments. Fletch could really use the hit money, and this movie really wants us to understand just how badly he needs it. His boss, Frank, is hounding him for a real story that he can print as well, as the beach bum story doesn't seem to be helping solve the case. Fletch is broke and on the verge of losing his job, and yet he still doesn't feel good about his supposed murder plot that he's agreed to be part of. And well, that's because when Fletch decides to look into Alan Stanwick, he discovers that he isn't in fact dying of cancer. He isn't dying at all.
Why does a man ask me to kill him? And lie about dying and he isn't dying. He asks me to kill him.
Fletch can't help but take this on as his new story, which comes with some of the most iconic comedic costumes and hilarious dangerous situations that you could ask for. Fletch sneaks into a country club pretending to be a guest of a rude family called the Underhills, and finds out that Alan Stanwick's wife is quite easy to press for information, as long as he's got the Underhills credit card handy.
Yes, very good. I'll have a Bloody Mary and a steak sandwich and a steak sandwich, please.
Very good, senor.
And wouldn't you know it, Fletch, or in this case,
Done cock toast,
develops a crush on Alan's wife and learns that Alan has been investing in a property in Provo, Utah. A property that she thinks is a lucrative investment, but turns out to be an empty plot with nothing on it. And why is that? Say it with me, folks, because Alan Stanwick is a two-timing hoe. He's been married to his high school sweetheart from Utah for years and has been working his new wife for cash in order to fund his double life. But the plot continues to thicken. It always does. However, before we get to the grand reveal and conclusion, I want to talk about some of the moments within Fletch's adventure so far that really make this movie memorable. Basically, I want to talk about my favorite moments in the movie. Fletch as Dr. Rosen.
Oh, it's me, Dr. Rosenpenis. I'm just here to check out Stanwick's file. Dr. Rosen, I'm here to get for the records.
The fact that Fletch's tactic here is just to cause confusion in order to get to the records room is classic Chevy Chase. I love the fact that he just gives a different version of the name every single time he's asked to repeat it, and all the while he's handing a stack of papers to this poor woman who has no idea what's going on.
Could you just collate these for me? And where'd you say that was?
B1.
B1. Thank you very much.
Fletch talking to the airport clerk.
Terrific.
In fact, you purchased the ticket for Miss Kavanaugh.
Doesn't mean I want her sitting next to me, does it?
I will never get over hearing Chevy Chase say, "Who is it, Mr. Sinelman?"
I'm afraid there is someone sitting next to you.
Ah, for God darn. Who is it, Mr. Sinlinden?
Fletch as Gordon G. Liddy.
Don't tell me my business, boy. Just checking the luggage.
Again, this is why Chevy is so ideal for this role. He's got to juggle having these fake teeth in, he's got to juggle having some kind of accent, a wig, and he has to have this level of confidence about planes, which he knows nothing about. And all the while, Chevy Chase as an actor has to play a guy playing that guy and still find a way to make it funny and believable in the world that this movie establishes.
Wash those windows. They've got filth, muck on them.
Before Chevy Chase was offered the role of Fletch, you may be surprised to learn that the studio offered the role to people like Mick Jagger. I'm not kidding. Mick Jagger was pitched for Fletch. But also Jeff Bridges, Michael Douglas, Burt Reynolds, and even my main man, Barry Bostwick. In the end, even Gregory McDonald could agree that Chevy should play the role.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Chase loved playing the character as well, telling press, "I love props. I love wigs and buck teeth and glasses. At one point I wear an afro and play basketball with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. There were some scenes where I didn't recognize myself." So through all of Fletch's wild adventures so far, he's been able to learn that Alan Stanwick is basically a con man who was pulling the ultimate sweetheart con on his wife Gail by marrying her to get access to her family's money. Then once he was in, he would drain them of their finances and run away with his high school lover.
Could you love someone who looked like that?
What are you talking about? Of course not. 5-10 minutes tops, maybe.
The real kicker is that Fletch was meant to show up to murder Alan as agreed, but Alan was gonna shoot Fletch instead and plant his body in Alan's car to blow it up and make it look like Alan was killed in a car accident. This means that Alan could collect the insurance policy and disappear forever. Oh, and Fletch's beach bum drug ring story happens to also be tied in with this plot, with Provo's local sheriff being the supplier of the drugs and using Alan's private jet to bring drugs in from South America.
South American back.
Luckily for Fletch, and fans of the sequel, Fletch is 2 steps ahead of the sheriff and Stanwick and is able to escape swiftly with his new lady, while Alan is killed by the sheriff and the sheriff is arrested. What we've got here is a classic 80s comedy that takes some noir inspiration in its tone, dialogue, and yes, the music. The truth is, this is one of those movies that I can't describe specifically why I love it, although here I am trying to discuss what I love about it.
Got a gun, creep? Shamu's got one, borrow his.
But it just feels deeper than that. I saw this movie for the first time when I was probably 6, and I've realistically seen it probably 50 or 60 times since. When I'm in need of something familiar that won't feel too redundant and will always make me laugh, I'll probably take this movie over just about anything else. Of course, this movie is loved by many people, not just me, and it did very well in theaters, which of course in Hollywood terms can only mean one thing.
Peter Lemonjello, your house is on fire.
What?
Fletch Lives continues the story of Fletch, who is once again a bachelor and leaves Los Angeles to live in Belle Isle, a mansion and estate in the Bible Belt left to Fletch by his aunt, who mysteriously passed away. The movie would again star Chevy Chase as the titular journalist, and this time would introduce us to even more incredible and iconic disguises and characters. And I know some people don't love this movie the way I do, but I think that for a sequel to this, I don't mind that it goes in a slightly weirder direction. You don't have to agree with me, but if you are curious about Fletch Lives, we are going to be revisiting it in the next episode to complete my dreams of getting paid to talk about Fletch. Well, everybody, that is it for today. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed it and made it this far, please make sure you drop a like on the video, of course subscribe, and leave a comment for any other movies of the 80s and 90s that you would like to see us talk about here on Flashback. I'm Kier with JoBlo Originals, and I'm out. Peace.
Well, I got a deadline.